Hey guys, Lady Lee here, and in this video I want to talk to you about taking care of tomato plants after we planted them and while they're growing and producing tomatoes. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about how to trellis and how to plant. I will link below this video to two posts on the blog that go over all the details of how I trellis my tomatoes and how I plant my tomatoes. And there is a right way to plant tomatoes, and I really think that it's worth a couple of minutes to go over and check it so you can make sure that you do it the right way and you plant your tomatoes in a way that they will produce a whole bunch of tomatoes later in the season. It is very hard to fix problems while the plant is already grown, and with tomatoes it's much easier to just do it right from the beginning, right when we plant them, and prevent a whole lot of problems like blossom end rot and stuff like that. So since I take care of tomatoes in a certain way that basically is kind of led by the way I trellis my tomatoes, I am going to take just a moment and show you the trellis system that I'm using. And you can do different kinds of supports for tomatoes. So if we're talking, let's go back for a minute. So when we're talking about tomatoes, we have two kinds. We have determinate tomatoes, which are bushy and short and are good with just a little stake, like these ones. So these are Roma tomatoes, and you see there's no trellis, it's just a stake per tomato. And I tie the tomato to the stake as they grow. Okay, these are tomatoes that are great for preserving. They have less water content in them and less seeds in them, and they're great for preserving, for making tomato sauce and all kind of stuff like that. So varieties like Amish paste or Roma tomatoes, these are the short bushy ones, and these are called determinate tomatoes. The indeterminate tomatoes are the ones that I have behind me here, and you can see that each one of them has a string that is going up to a rebar that is held with 1 inch, 1¼ inch PVC tees to the T-posts. So I'm going to flip the camera real quick and just show you the trellis, because the trellis is one of the reasons that I take care of the tomatoes the way that I take care of the tomatoes. Now, I do this for indeterminate tomatoes. Those are tomatoes that are viney. They will keep on growing and growing and growing. As long as you provide support for them, they will grow to 10, 15 even feet tall. Okay, and they need caring. They need much more care than those determinate tomatoes that are good for paste and sauce and stuff like that. So let me flip the camera real quick and we'll go over the trellis before we go over how to care for tomatoes. Okay, so this is pretty simple. It's a 7-foot T-post. 1 foot is pounded into the ground, and I have 6 feet left on top here. Then I use 1¼ inch PVC tees, and I run a 10 feet rebar between the two. Sometimes I'll add another T-post in the middle, but since this bed is not even 10 feet, it's fine. Now for each tomato, since I will show you how I prune my tomatoes, so I am able to plant them pretty close together. So I got about 1 foot to something like between 12 to 18 inches between each tomato. And I put the stake in the ground. I tie the string to the stake, you can see here, and then the string goes up to the rebar. All right, as the tomato is growing, I wrap it around the string, and I will show you more about this in a minute as part of caring for the tomatoes. All right, the second thing that I do is I tie the plant to the stake. If I can get, I just recycled some strings that I have, but usually this long string that goes up to the rebar, I can bring it all the way down here, and then I can start wrapping the plant around it pretty soon after it starts growing. But it wasn't long enough, so just to make sure that the plant is steady, I tied the bottom of the plant to the stake. And then as it's growing, I am taking the plant and gently wrapping it around the string. Now here is the thing. This trellis is set in a way that the string is going to support one main vine. And this is actually the way that we want to grow indeterminate tomatoes. We want to prune them to just one vine because this root system that is in the ground can only support one tomato plant. Okay, if you look at this plant where I didn't prune it, you can see what we call suckers. So here is the leaf, and here is the main vine, and over here there's a whole new tomato plant growing, okay, right in between. And again, I didn't prune these, so you can see it's coming everywhere. Like here's a leaf, here's the main vine, and here's another sucker, another tomato plant. And again, here's another tomato plant. Now, this root system cannot support so many plants, okay? These will grow and grow and grow and will become huge tomato plants, and they will just fall on the ground. All kind of bugs will be able to climb on them, and it's just too much for one root system to maintain. And what happens is that we see it in the production of tomatoes. The plant has so much greenery to support that it's not able to produce good tomatoes. So over here, because it's low, I'm gonna cut both the sucker and the leaf. I'm gonna clean this one out too. And I'm gonna cut this one too. Now it is important to do that often, and I mean I'm going over my tomato plants about once a day at least, because these things grow so fast. Now look at this. This is a whole tomato plant, okay? It's this big because I left this plant so I can show you, so I didn't prune it, but they start out just small like this, okay? So here's the main vine, here is the leaf, and here's the sucker. And if you do that on a regular basis every day, you can just come back here and pull that and prune that. Now this little damaged area is much easier for the plant to get over and heal, you know, than this big cut that I made over here. So we really want to do that on a regular basis, and make sure that we only keep one vine. Now you can, if you want, you know, keep a couple of them. So if I decided that I wanted to keep this sucker and grow another tomato plant here, I will just tie another string over to the rebar so I can support that guy too, because as it grows it's going to fall on the ground if I don't provide support for it. I don't want to grow two here, I just want one tomato plant. So I'll go back a little bit so you can see, but here's my tomato plant now, and this is the main vine. So I'm gently going to just wrap it around the string and it will keep growing. Now let's do the same thing over here. Do you see how this one is so bushy and big? And there are so many suckers here. So again, leaf, main vine, and here's a new tomato plant that I don't want here. So I'm just gonna cut it. And since it's so close to the ground and I want to clean the lower 12 inches, I'm going to actually cut all of this. And I know you might think, oh my God, she's cutting so much, but really what I'm doing is just helping the plant be more productive, not less productive. Okay, you see that big leaf over here is on the ground and it is low, so I can get rid of it. I'll keep this one, but since it's touching the ground, I'm just gonna clip it this way. All right, and then I got another sucker over here, and I did keep wrapping the main vine around the string, so this kind of tells me that this is a sucker. This is not the main vine. Sometimes it can be a little confusing if you let it go and not prune for a few days, because they grow so big that you're confused and you're not sure which one is the main vine. And again, you can leave a couple of them if you want, if you have a situation like that. So now you can see that there are much less leaves, and there is really good airflow here between the plants, and some of them already are starting to produce. So where did I see a little tomato over here? Okay, so let's just go, just like I do every day, once a day, let's just go over the tomatoes and see if we can find something. Here's a little sucker that needs to go. All right, this guy is kind of splitting. Do you see, this is actually the main vine and this is a sucker, so we can clip this one and then gently, and usually I'll do it with two hands, gently wrap it around the string. All right, let's move on, see what else we have here. As I go, I also check for hornworms, those green caterpillar thingies that can eat half a plant in like 2 hours. They're crazy, and I already had a little bit of damage from them. I don't see any right now. All right, let's keep going over here. This leaf is touching the ground, it's too low, so I'm gonna clip it, and I don't see any suckers over here. Oh, look. Those are tiger, oh, I forgot the name, but they're the tiger kind of tomatoes with the stripes. Should be interesting. Okay, I don't see any suckers. So okay, so here's a plant that is growing really good, so I'm just going to gently, I'm going to try, I always try to not to break the top of the plant, okay, because if we break the top of the plant, then the plant is not going to keep growing taller and taller. All right, and this is actually another thing, that once those tomatoes get to the rebar, I give them the chance to grow one more foot in the, above the rebar, and then I top them off. And to top off, it means to pretty much cut the top of the plant. So this part, I'll just cut it off, and that means that the plant is not going to keep growing taller, and at that point all the energy is going to go into producing tomatoes. So here's a sucker here for me to take, and let's see, This guy is doing good. We can cut a little bit of this leaf. You can also see that as they grow, I always feed my tomatoes every 2 weeks. I just put some worm casting, so like half a cup for each plant. Tomatoes are heavy feeders, so you want to keep feeding them during the season until they start to produce a ton of tomatoes. Okay, here's another row. Oh, and here there's something interesting that I wanted to show you here. These are called Matt's Wild. They are amazing little marble-sized tomatoes. Here, this is what I wanted to show you. So I only saw this happening with this kind of tomato. I'm sure it's probably happening with other kinds, but see how the little tomatoes are starting to grow, and then suddenly, what is this? From the end here of the flower stem, there comes a whole new tomato plant again, you know. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to clip it. I'm not sure what the scientific or agricultural name of this thing, and I only ever seen it happen with the Matt's Wild tomatoes. I'm sure it happens with other types too, but watch out for that too. Here it is again. You have the little tomatoes, the flowers, and then suddenly a whole new tomato plant is growing at the end. So just to make sure the plant is focusing on making tomatoes. Now look over here. Can you recognize the suckers? Here's one, and here's another one. This is the main stalk, and those are the leaves. So I'm just gonna come here, and when you do that, when they're this small, you can just use your hands and just clip them off. Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to show you. Other things that you can feed your tomato plants with as they grow are the fish fertilizer, and also Espoma. The company Espoma is making a great organic fertilizer. I have one more row of tomatoes that we will go over. Okay, so everything is looking good here. This plant needs a little help, so we'll just wrap it around. So that's exactly what I'm doing, like every day. That's what I'll do at least once a day. I'll just go over everything and check that all of the tomatoes are good. I didn't need to do a lot of pruning with the other ones because I take care of them on a regular basis. That's it, you guys. This is pretty much how I take care of my tomatoes. I trellis them, I wrap them around the string as they grow, I clear the bottom 12 inches from leaves and everything else. I feed them every 2 weeks or so, and I prune them and check for hornworms. And other than that, it's not really a big deal, and it's not hard work. Tomatoes are not the easiest thing to grow, but if you keep at it and you do every day, then it's just really 5-10 minutes walk in the garden every day with scissors to check the tomatoes, and they will produce great tomatoes for you. The plants will be healthy, there'll be enough airflow between them. It's also great because then you can really grow them vertically and plant them a little close together, and as you make sure that you prune and take away the parts of the plant that doesn't need to be there, then there's more airflow and there's no disease or hornworms that you didn't see because there are too many leaves until it was too late or anything like that. And if you prune your tomatoes to one vine, you take good care of that one vine, you feed your tomatoes during the season, and you give them good support, that one vine will produce a ton of tomatoes. I hope this video was helpful, and please subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.